If you had asked me a year ago, I would have told you my marriage to Erica was steady, if not blissful. We'd been together almost 7 years, comfortable enough to finish each other's sentences, but maybe too comfortable. We drifted into routines so predictable you could set your watch by them. She dropped our daughter off at preschool at 8, stopped by the market to pick up groceries, and was home by 9:30. I worked from my small office upstairs, programming code no one would ever see. Our conversations were perfunctory, updates about bills, errands, or the occasional laughter about a TV show. I thought we were okay. Until I started noticing changes. Little things at first. A new perfume I hadn't given her, lipstick shades that seemed too bold for a quick grocery run, and how she lingered in the mirror before leaving the house. I wanted to believe I was imagining it. But the seed of doubt had been planted. The market she went to every morning was just down the street. It was one of those bustling, half-outdoor affairs with vendors hawking everything from fresh produce to handmade trinkets. Erica insisted she liked the prices and the quality. And I believed her, until the morning I decided to surprise her. I finished work early that day. My plan was simple: pick her up at the market and take her out for breakfast. Something spontaneous to reignite the spark. But as I walked toward the stalls, weaving through the crowds, I caught sight of her near the fruit section. She stood closer than I'd ever seen her stand to anyone else, her hand resting on the forearm of a man I'd never met. He was tall, with perfectly coiffed hair and a salesman's easy grin. He leaned in, whispering something that made her laugh, a laugh I hadn't heard in months. I ducked behind a display of tomatoes, my heart slamming in my chest. I knew I should confront her right then, but I couldn't move. I felt paralyzed, like the world had turned upside down. I watched as the man reached up, brushing a strand of her hair back from her face before pressing a soft kiss on her cheek. She didn't flinch. She didn't look guilty. She looked alive, radiant, even. I staggered back, almost knocking over a stack of oranges. An elderly vendor gave me a curious glance, but I forced a smile and walked away, my mind a swirl of disbelief and rage. I knew what I'd seen. There was no innocent explanation for it. Still, I couldn't bring myself to confront her at home that evening. I sat across from her at dinner, watching her eyes sparkle as she told our daughter about her day at the market, the same market where she had betrayed me. Over the next week, I descended into a quiet obsession. I started rearranging my schedule so I could watch her without her knowing. I saw them together again, and again, always near the market, always with their heads close, their bodies betraying a closeness no wife should have with a stranger. I learned his name was Victor. He sold kitchenware and fancy cutlery, charming shoppers with his easy banter and warm smile. But with Erica, his touch lingered just a little longer than with other customers. One afternoon, she came home flushed, her hair tousled. I asked how the market was. "Oh, the usual," she said breezily, breezing past me to set groceries on the counter. I caught a whiff of cologne I knew wasn't mine. I felt sick. But I kept up the charade. I needed more proof. I needed something undeniable. So I rented a small storage unit near the market's edge, turning it into my makeshift surveillance center. I spent hours there, reviewing photos and videos from the discreet camera I'd planted facing Victor's stall. It felt surreal, like I had slipped into someone else's life. A man who spied on his wife because he could no longer trust her. The footage left no doubt. They kissed when they thought no one was looking. Once, he pressed her against the wall behind his stall, hands roaming in ways I couldn't bear to watch. I had to shut off the video and leave the unit, gasping for air as the betrayal clawed at my chest. At home, she was sweetness personified. She'd slip into bed beside me, curl up in my arms, and whisper, "I love you." The words felt like acid in my ears. How could she say that after what she was doing? I began noticing the little lies she told to cover her tracks. One morning, she claimed she'd gone to the butcher on the far side of town, yet I saw on the camera that she'd spent over an hour with Victor. Another time, she told me she'd met an old college friend for coffee, but her car was parked right in the market lot. I knew then that whatever we once had was gone, replaced by deceit so complete it left me questioning everything about our life together. I wanted to scream at her, to demand answers, but something held me back. I kept gathering evidence, convincing myself that I needed every detail before making my move. The truth was, I wasn't ready to let go of the illusion. I still loved her. Or maybe I just loved the idea of her, the woman I thought I'd married. Each day, I felt the walls closing in. I started to see the signs of the affair everywhere. The way she hummed while folding laundry, how she'd drift off in the middle of conversations, lost in thoughts I couldn't reach. Our daughter's drawings on the fridge mocked me, stick figures of a happy family that no longer existed. One night, I sat in the darkened kitchen long after Erica went to bed, the photos of her and Victor spread out before me like a grotesque scrapbook. My hands trembled as I traced her smiling face, remembering the vows we'd exchanged, the promises she'd broken. As dawn approached, I knew what I had to do. The next day was Saturday, our family day. But I wasn't going to spend it pretending everything was fine. I was going to confront her, force her to look me in the eye and tell me the truth. And one way or another, we'd both know by the end of that day whether our marriage had any hope left. Saturday dawned gray and sullen, the kind of morning where even the birds seemed reluctant to sing. I felt the same way. My hand shook as I poured coffee into 2 mugs. Erica padded into the kitchen in her bathrobe, her hair damp from the shower, looking for all the world like a devoted wife. My stomach churned at the sight. "Morning," she said, smiling as she reached for her cup. I forced a smile. "We need to talk." Her eyes flickered, but she covered it with a sip of coffee. "About what?" "About the market. About Victor." The mug froze halfway to her lips. Slowly, she set it down, her fingers white on the handle. "I don't know what you mean," she said too quickly. I reached into the folder beside me and spread out the photos, her leaning into Victor, his hand brushing her hair, the two of them kissing behind his stall. Her face went pale as milk. For a moment, she just stared at the evidence of her betrayal. Then, almost imperceptibly, her shoulders slumped. "How long?" I asked, my voice raw. Tears welled in her eyes. 3 months, she whispered. "It just happened." "Don't insult me," I snapped. "It didn't just happen. You let it happen. You lied every single day." Her tears spilled over, but I felt nothing, just a hollow ache where love used to live. "I was lonely," she sobbed. "You were always upstairs working. I felt invisible. He made me feel alive." My heart twisted at her words. I'd worked so hard to provide, to build a life for us, but had I been so wrapped up in my own world that I'd left her vulnerable? The thought made me want to scream. But nothing excused what she had done. I took a deep breath, fighting for calm. "So what now? Are you in love with him?" Her eyes darted away. I don't know." That answer was worse than a yes. I felt something inside me break. I couldn't look at her anymore. I pushed back my chair and stood, pacing the kitchen like a caged animal. Every memory of our marriage ran through my mind like a cruel slideshow. Our wedding, the birth of our daughter, the nights we held each other close, believing we'd grow old together. "I don't want this," I said quietly. "I don't want a wife who lies, who cheats." She stepped toward me, reaching out, but I flinched back as if burned. "Please, let's talk about this," she begged. "For our daughter's sake. You should have thought about her before you did this," I said coldly. Our daughter padded into the kitchen then, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Mommy, Daddy, why are you yelling?" We both froze. Erica crouched down, pulling our daughter into a hug. "Everything's okay, sweetheart," she whispered, her voice trembling. I couldn't stand there a second longer. "I'm going out," I said, grabbing my keys. "I'll be back tonight. We'll figure out how to tell her together." The drive felt endless. I parked near the market, not even sure why I'd come. Maybe I needed to see Victor for myself, to look him in the eye and understand what kind of man thought it was acceptable to pursue another man's wife. The market was alive with weekend bustle, but the air felt heavy. I found Victor by his stall, laughing with an elderly customer. My rage nearly blinded me. I stepped forward, but the words I'd planned died in my throat. He looked so ordinary, just another man trying to charm his way through life. Did he even know the devastation he caused? When his eyes met mine, there was a flicker of recognition, then wariness. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice cool. I took a deep breath, fighting to keep my voice low. "Stay away from my wife." A smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. "She's a grown woman. She can make her own choices." That broke something in me. I lunged forward, grabbing his shirt, but a couple of market-goers pulled me back before it could go further. He straightened his collar, giving me a pitying look. "She came to me," he said softly, almost like he wanted to twist the knife. I staggered back, the words hitting me harder than any punch. I left the market on autopilot, my mind spinning. This wasn't something I could fix. The marriage I thought I had was already gone. Back home, Erica sat on the couch, our daughter playing with blocks nearby. She looked up, eyes red and swollen. "Did you see him?" she asked. I nodded. "I told him to stay away." She closed her eyes, fresh tears spilling over. "What do we do now?" I sank into the armchair across from her, exhaustion washing over me. "We talk to a lawyer. We figure out custody. And we tell her together when the time is right." Her sobs filled the room, but I felt numb. I wasn't angry anymore, just hollow. Our marriage had died quietly, somewhere between the stolen kisses at the market and the lies she whispered at home. The only thing left was to protect our daughter from the fallout. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Memories of happier times danced in the shadows, mocking me. I realized that betrayal doesn't just destroy trust. It poisons every good memory, tainting it with doubt. But in the darkness, a new thought formed. I would heal. I would rebuild, for myself and for my daughter. This chapter of my life was ending, but another would begin. And this time, I would write it with my eyes wide open.